rudder and the centerboard are still not dry. So I decided to move on with sealing the outside of the centerboard trunk, and I'm using Pettit Easy Wood Sealer because I'm going to be using Captain's Varnish on this stuff. There's the first coat of this stuff. Then you have to sand after it's fully dried and put a second coat on. And then I've got to do something to protect this stuff because it's going to be getting banged around. I'm probably going to have to put some kind of board on top of it. But anyway, this is supposed to end up being clear. We'll see. Definitely needs to be sanded. The grain raised up a lot on this Akume. It's hard to see. Well, here, we'll go over here so I can pick up some speckles. There we go, maybe that's it. Anyway, this is all dust, etc. It's in the second coat of sealer, and basically I'm in the process of hand sanding. You can see the smoothing marks in the plywood. But so this part is pretty much done. Little things like that, which I can hardly see. I can see in the camera, but they're little bits of either dust or specks of sealer from a dirty brush. I used a nylon polyester brush, and I didn't clean it well enough. So I'm going to move on to foam brushes. I just painted the centerboard and rudder with foam brushes, and I'm a convert now. Anyway, so this will be sanded down. I may or may not put a coat of varnish on this. I don't want it to get dinged up. I think I'd rather work with the sealed wood. I'm going to have to put some kind of paper on this, thick construction paper, to protect it. I don't want it getting dings and stuff while I'm building the centerboard. Also, when I make the molds, I'm going to make the molds that fit the centerboard wider. For two reasons. One, I'm going to fiberglass the underside, and that's going to naturally make this piece, the centerboard trunk, wider. So I got to open that up. Plus, I want to leave space for some sort of covering paper while they're in the molds, while they're getting inserted in the molds. Otherwise, this stuff will get dinged up, and you can't do much of it since it's plywood. But anyway, this stuff takes a heck of a lot longer than originally planned. Starboard bedlog trunk side piece, and I've realized that I didn't cut it square. See, that little bitty line, hard to see, drifting down to the end there. So if I put this on here, I got a little bit of a high spot there, but it's huge. It's just huge. Problem is this is not quite straight. I cut this with that Trax on. It should have been much better than this. But the question is, how much is it really worth to go after? Let's see if I can get it to focus. There it is. That little piece there. I mean, it's half, quarter, eighth. It's an eighth of an inch at the top. So this is not quite perfect, but I'm probably going to trim off a little bit, because if I put this piece on here and it's straight, I should have this is inboard of what it should be when it goes through the keel. And that's not that big a deal, I guess, but anyway, we're trying to do things that prevent problems down the road. I mean, it's not that much, it's like that much, but that's a pretty big lever arm. Oh yes, and the bedlog, I don't know if I've mentioned that before. There's, if I haven't, I'll mention it again. This edge and this edge are parallel with the construction baseline and perpendicular to the frames, which are parallel to the stations. And this line is off by 2 degrees. And that 2 degrees, so that when you cut the bedlog, you have to, there has to be a 2 degrees, you have to cut 2 degrees into the, it's not a 90-degree cut off the end, off either end of the bedlog. So it's going to shift that way back here and this way up front, because Mr. Herreshoff insisted. I also may cut this, I'm almost certain I'm going to cut the bedlog at 7/8, which will make this stand up about 1/8 of an inch higher. These are a little bit long. This piece goes along there, and they're a little bit long, so I'm going to cut the bedlog just because by cutting it in 1 inch, I give myself hardly any space at the end of the bedlog with there's a section that's only like 1/8 of an inch thick, and I would just prefer to have a 1/4 if I could do that. Anyway, so we're trying to trim this up as best possible before we start putting this together. The next thing I have to do is put fiberglass on this, which I have more stuff from Total Boat. A 6-ounce 3/8 by a yard. It only covers about this much. I'll have to cut a little piece off and stick it here. These are just 10,000ths under 1 1/4. I'm thinking about putting a extra strip here, here, and here on both sides, just to give it a little more width. That will not affect the width of the notch. Now this guy is, so we'll see what we get here. Okay, that's 10,000ths of an inch. 10,000. So that's 69. And I bet if yeah, it's 17 millimeters. 17.85, so it's like 18 millimeters. So, but it's a little under 3/4, so I'm going to make sure to cut the notch for the width of this, plus that I'll measure after I put the fiberglass on there. So fiberglass is next to nothing. But anyway, we'll do that for both of these things. And trimmed this little bitty edge here. This is the piece I showed before with the line on it. I trimmed it off with the compound miter saw. It was some tiny amount, 2 degrees-ish, which makes me wonder if I didn't square this corner to this, which I didn't even check. But we're now, which is maybe what I did. Anyway, so I've got some paint sticks under the centerboard, and then I got another paint stick here. So a paint stick about all the clearance we got. Anyway, I think we're about as ready as we're going to get. So next is to finally put the fiberglass on the inside of these side panels and cut the bed logs. So here's the first coat of the fiberglass on the inside of the centerboard trunk sides. I had to do a seam here, which I'm just gonna put a second coat of stuff on it. Also, I put a layer, you can see a little bump here. I built this up on the places where the side pieces are, and anyway, yeah, there. I put a coat on these guys, which is only going to do it just one coat. Anyway, so I'm going to put another coat of epoxy on this. I thinned the last batch. I'm going to do I'm going to probably use just regular epoxy on this second batch. You can really feel the glass. I might put a little thickener in it, but we'll see. Anyway, more later. So one thing that I did that I'm really glad I did was put blue tape around the perimeter. And I didn't need to go this far in, but I didn't know. Anyway, so I need epoxy drips went on the tape instead of on the finish or on the sealer. So it wasn't that much, but so there it is. Look at Mr. Caliper. See what he says our thickness is. So there's Mr. Caliper, 75. So it took the thickness up to 3/4, which is what it should be. So that's good. I do have to, again, I had to have the piece, one piece was the right size and too short, and the other piece was way too big. They sent me the wrong size to my benefit, and I didn't realize till I opened it. But so anyway, I have a seam here which I have to sand down, and then all these bumps I have to sand down, and these edges which I have to sand down. And as I said before, the extra glass didn't really do anything. It probably just, if I put it on top of this, it probably would have, after the fact, it would have made it thicker. But anyway, so that's real strong here. So I'll rationalize it that way. So, and then there's the other piece. This actually looks really nice. I mean, the hope is that this is something of what it's going to look like when it, except the pattern will be down here, because as you may recall, I split this cathedral pattern here, which I don't know if you can see it or not, but that should look nice when it gets varnished, hopefully without all the bumps. Anyway, a little more processing and we'll be ready to finalize the bed logs and then put this thing together. TTFN.